I'm PJ, the Silverback from tacticalmonkey.net, and today we're going to install a extended slide release onto a Glock. This is a very easy project. You can do this at home. You do not need armors, tools, and nothing fancy schmancy like that. Anyone can do this. I can do it. Anyone can do it. I'm not a trained professional. I just love Glocks. I research this stuff. I've got a friend who's a Glock armorer. I learned how to do this stuff, and now I'm going to show you. All you're going to need is a roll of duct tape, the right size pin punch, which is 3/32 of an inch, the part that you want to install, the extended slide release, which you can get many places. Mine's just a Glock OEM part that I'm going to slip in, and let's just do it. Alright, as you all know, I've been away from this gun. I come back again. Always safety first. Going to make sure that there's nothing in the chamber. There's no magazine in there. I like to do a visual and tactile inspection. Make sure that the gun is clear, and you can see that it is. We got nothing there, so this gun is safe to work on. This is a Glock 22. It's generation 3. It's a little bit older, but it's seen some wear. Actually, I bought it from the department I work with, and it's still a great gun. I've switched out some things in it. There's a few mods in there, but it's good to go. It's a great little Glock. It'll last forever. We got punches. This is the Glock pin punch. Just a very simple little tool. Very simple. Glock armor's tool, they call it. It's great for the pins. I like to use a metal one. Sometimes it's nice to have two to pry things out if you need to. But I prefer the feel of this one with less of a handle. But I use them both, if I'm being honest. This one quite often as a starter, and this one to push the pins through. Duct tape. I got a little dish which you don't need, but it's just I keep my parts in it. It's only one part at this point, and we're looking at a little. This is the extended slide release right here. I don't know if you can see that or not, but it comes out and up a little bit more. It's got this little niche, almost like a little bullet point here, that comes out and just enables you to get to that release a little quicker. If you look at the original, it's flat against the gun, just completely flat against the gun, and there's really not much to grab at it. I've got to kind of twist the gun around to get it, and even then my finger can slide right off it. So we're going to replace that. So we've checked the gun safe. There's nothing in it. So we're going to go ahead and disassemble this Glock. And now we're going to remove the top slide. Everything's good. We can set this aside because we're not going to need this for right now. Not working with that unit at all. By the way, I'd like to take a moment to point out that this Glock 22 is nicely dressed up with the Streamlight TLR 1S. It's a nice, very handy little light, and it's very good. I think I need to put new batteries in it. Let's see. We looking good there? I think that looks pretty bright. I've actually blinded Ghost Monkey in the background. Are you okay, mate?
I think I'm gonna make it.
We need to get you some sunglasses for when I'm being a dick. Anyway, yeah, that was kind of bad. I'm pointing a receiver at the camera and flashing it with my wonderful Streamlight. Anyway, alright, so this is the receiver. That is a great little light, by the way. You can get them usually around $100, but they're very light, they're durable. You could drive over this thing with a damn tractor, and it's going to survive. So we're going to work on the receiver. I'm going to get my duct tape. Handy dandy roll of tape. Doesn't have to be duct tape. Doesn't have to be any brand name. You can have an armorer's block if you want. People will spend money to get a block to help you take pins out of a gun and hold the receiver steady and all that. I like to be able to move the receiver. Sometimes you got to manipulate pins out. I want to use my hand and this to do the final part, or the easy pins. So the first pin we're going to take out. I'm going to use this because you can see it better. The top pin. This is a 3-pin Glock, and in 3-pin Glocks, I believe I actually, you know what? I've never used a 2-pin Glock, so I'm not sure what gen they are. But this is a gen 3, and it's 3-pin, and a 3-pin Glock. We're going to start with the first pin, which is the stopping block. Locking block. My goodness, I was just having a conniption. This is the locking block right here, and this is the locking block pin. So we're going to take that out, always going from left to right. If the gun we're pointing away from you, when we're removing the pins, we're going to go from left to right. So, I'll set this down on the tape so I get somewhere to push the pin. Actually, I'm going to put my little dish in there. You don't have to do this, but you know, I'm fancy, I've got a magnetic dish and I want to use it. So that pin's punched through. This pin punch isn't as long as the Glock one. I use it kind of to finish the job. It's got the lock and block pin out, but I just want to push it right the way through with this one. And it didn't even go in my little dish. My dish is magnetic and it didn't go in. I'm taking it back. Alright, so that's good. Now this next pin is always a little bit awkward. This is the trigger pin. It's the second pin down, trigger pin, pin 2, and the trigger pin goes right through this part here of the slide release. Trigger pin's going right through that. So some people try and get a trigger pin out, they end up hammering it, pushing it. It actually takes no force to get out at all. You just have to get the right angle between the pin and the slide release that's in there currently. So this is what I'm going to do. I'm going to reach in. So this is the slide release here. Nice little unit with it on the spring. And I'm just going to, as I push on the, I'm going to get my sturdy pin here, or my punch. As I push on the trigger pin, I'm going to move around this slide release. And see, right now I could push with tons of pressure, nothing's going to happen. It's not going to go anywhere unless I hit it with a hammer, and I'll damage this slide release, and I don't want to do that and possibly damage the receiver further. So what I find works best for me is I lift up the release and push it in a little bit. I find when I start to apply an inward pressure, it evens up around the pin and it comes out pretty easy. So like I said, you could do this a million times. It still takes a few seconds to get that sweet spot. Usually I do this up against my chest. I'm trying to do it in front of the camera here, so it's a little awkward, but we'll get it. And it's just really just a matter of moving. There we go. Moving around till you find the sweet spot. And I found ironically that sweet spot is in different places at different times. Just trying to find that thing. So that is that's the trigger pin. Trigger pin out right now. I put that in the dish, and then our regular slide release is just gonna slip right out, and that's it, removed. So now we're ready for the new part. And we're going to put that in. So now I've got the extended one, and I guess we should compare the two. If I can get out of the dish. So this is the regular one, as you would see it on the gun. And this is the Glock's version of the extended one. You can see it's got that little additional reach there. It doesn't look like much, but it makes a huge difference. If you've ever shot a Glock with one on, you'll realize it makes a huge difference. So we're going to go ahead and put this extended one in now. So I don't know if you can see it from there or not, but right in the middle of the receiver, there's three slots, and these 3 slots are on the upside of the trigger. It's like here, 1, 2, and 3. And the third one on the left, kind of like right there, the third one on the left, right here where the punch is pointing, that's where we're going to slide that spring into, that's on the end of the mag release. So I'll try and do it at this angle. This is a little awkward. But we can get in focus. There we go. Alright, so here's my part. I'm gonna slip it in there into the little spot, and there you go. You can see it's in place. You want it to slid right into the groove, and if you look really carefully into where the trigger pin was, we'll put something bright behind it here. You can see the little end of it where that trigger pin is going to go through, kind of moving in there. So we'll slide that forward so there's room for the trigger pin to go through. So now we're kind of reversing the assembly process. Only first thing we're going to do is we're exactly reversing the process. We're going to put the trigger pin back in, only we're going to do it from the right to left. If you go left to right this time, then the two grooves that are in the trigger pin, they have to fight their way past that spring. If we go right to left, then only one of them, and it doesn't even really have to fight its way past. Once we get there, you're going to hear a little click, and that's the spring on the end of the side release slapping into the trigger pin. So we may need to once again do a little bit of manipulation here. And all I did was pull back on it a little to line up the hole. It slides in. Tiniest little pop as that spring goes into place. So I don't know if you heard that. I certainly did. And then just to test that it's in the right place, you can just pick that thing up. It should come down quite solidly. And there you have a much bigger release. So let's get the top slide back on. First, we're going to have to put the locking block pin back in. We're going to go from right to left again. You can do this pretty much with your finger. If you need to give it a little tap, then please do. So this can happen from time to time where the spring on the end of the slide release is kind of in the way of this pin. So I'm going to use this to move it out of the way. And if you're just putting the trigger, the lock and block pin back in here, and I ran into a little difficulty. And I've done this quite a few times, but it's not something you do every day, so I couldn't remember how it was supposed to be. So I'll share that difficulty with you because it's something you may run into. And let me get a flashlight. I got one here somewhere. Alright, so the little spring on the end of the magazine slide release comes up right in the path sometimes of my pin here. So whenever I go to push the trigger housing pin, the lock and block pin in, it just kind of blocks the hole, and I want that spring to go under this pin, so I'm just going to hold it down with my pin punch. I don't know if you can see this or not, but the spring's in the way. We're going to push it down, and that will enable us to push that right through the pin into place, and that's the last pin in perfectly. I've seen some people who are crazy about their pins. This one it's in far on this side. It's not as far as that side. Okay, if that's all you got to worry about, have a nice day. Because you're obviously living a good life. Me, I even them up a little bit, but really makes no never mind. I'm just going to double check the new slide release. It's in there nice and tight now with both those pins pressing up against it. Nice and grippy. I'm going to put my top slide back on the receiver. I'll lock it back so I can test this thing. Look at all that grip I have now. Remember earlier I had to turn it around like this to drop that, and even then I was kind of sliding over the top of it. This is a good positive grip. That's a Glock ready for action right there.